Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 216 now. Firstly, an apology for the cancellation of our Narrabeen outing today in Burong, as it is not very nice weather. But in place of this, we've got a marvelous book review for you, and it's called Go Ahead at Sequence 7. Now, before we get on to that, unfortunately 11 new cases have popped up overnight. So guys out there, please mask up. And joining me in the studio now, it's a very good morning to Alec Taylor and Georgia. Good morning to both of you.
Morning, Barry.
Morning, Barry.
Thanks for having us on the show, Bob.
Well, the COVID cases in the eastern suburbs are not looking too good. Here's Alec now for his opening sequence on this.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Yeah, so not good to have another cluster pop up in Sydney in the last few days, and it's looking like, yeah, as you said, I think it was 11 cases they've had so far, and lots and lots of hotspots, lots of people in self-isolation, lots of people getting tested. Hopefully we can get on top of it like we have with past clusters, although this time something's different, right? It's a variant. It's the Delta,
I think.
Delta variant, which is more contagious. So we're pushing our luck. We may not get away with it this time.
So, please, if you've been to a hotspot, ladies and gentlemen, I know I may be sounding like Molly Meldrum here from Countdown, but guys, please be careful out there. Don't go to a hotspot. If you have been to a hotspot, please isolate for 14 days. I know it's an absolute pain in the beep, but you've got to do it. Here's Georgia now.
Yes, it's important that everyone takes this cluster seriously and checks the updates of case locations, even if you have been vaccinated, because as Alex said, this variant might be different to what you're protected against fully. So yeah, make sure that you're isolating if you've been instructed to, and keep updated.
So please, we know it's a pain in the beep, but it's no point going boo-hoo over spilt milk. Here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right. It is a bit of a pain. Can be a bit of a pain if you have to isolate. But I think most people now, they just go and get tested, and they basically rule out having COVID. And I think, do you have to keep self-isolating if you've been tested? I don't think you do.
So
right?
if you're not a close contact and you get tested, then you just need to wait. You need to isolate until you get a negative result. But if you are a close contact, even if you come back with a negative, you need to isolate for 14 days.
Yeah, so it's all about being a close contact or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a pain, but it's worth it for everybody else, right? And I think that's one thing that Aussies are pretty good at is considering other people and trying to do the right thing. So yeah, I think hopefully we'll get through it.
So we know it's absolutely frustrating, and it's coming up to the school holidays, but once something spreads all over the place like strawberry jam, I mean, it's a pretty sticky situation. It's like trying to wipe sticky, gooey, melted cheese out of a pan after you burnt it. Yeah, I know I'm coming up with those classic sayings,
Metaphors, mate.
but here's Alec now.
Yeah, a bit of a sticky situation. But I think hopefully we've passed the worst of it now, and it does feel like everyone's taking it pretty seriously. Lots and lots of tests, and with a bit of luck, this cluster will kind of die out as well, like all the others have in Sydney. So fingers crossed, I guess.
So we know it's a pain in the beep. I should put that in the video, like
a beep.
Like beep. That's better than swearing on the show, I think.
Yep. We'd have to put a warning on if we actually did some swearing.
So please, guys, listen to your radio and television updates for further information. Here's Georgia now.
Yes, there's a lot of resources that you can access on your phone or on the TV or the internet. The New South Wales Health website, so make sure you check that every day, because overnight they get updated and the cases that have come out. So yeah, make sure you're checking that in the morning before you go anywhere, in case you have been to those places.
So right now on the show, we're going to move off from COVID and talk about this marvelous book. So book lovers and mums and dads with children, if you're up for a book, it's called Go Ahead Secret 7. Now, here's Alec now for this.
Here it is. So I once again went down to my local secondhand bookstore and invested $3 in this copy of Go Ahead Secret 7.
And that's our next topic on episode 216. The time is 9 minutes to 10 o'clock. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of June. I'm Barry Fair alongside Alec Taylor in Georgia. Well, if you were a child growing up and reading The Secret 7, well, you are going to love this. It is called Go Ahead Secret 7. Here's Alec.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. So this is the third Enid Blyton book that we've reviewed in the last few weeks. And I think, so I actually looked them up. This one was written in 1953. So the previous one was written in the 40s. That was famous.
The famous five on a hike together.
Yeah, 5 on a Hike. And the one before that was
The Secret Island.
The Secret Island, right. So chronological order. So The Secret Island was written in the 1930s. Then the famous 5 one was in the 40s. And then this one was written in 1953. And it's the 5th book in the Secret 7 series. And it's interesting because it starts off with no mystery, right?
So I'm going to read to you now the first chapter of the book. Okay, so I will cut to another shot. This is now the beginning of another book review. You're watching episode 216. The first chapter of Go Ahead Secret 7 is called Susie is Most Annoying. Peter was going home from school one afternoon swinging his satchel when someone came running up behind him and bumped into him. He dropped his bag and almost fell over. He looked around crossly, expecting it to be George or Colin, but it wasn't. It was Susie with her cheeky face standing by the curb grinning at him. "Sorry," she said, "you were in my way. How's the Secret Seven Society going?" "You just look where you're going, Susie," said Peter, picking up his bag. "As for the Secret Seven, it's no business of yours. You're always trying to interfere. So what's happened here? At the beginning of this story, Jack's sister Susie bumps into Peter on his way home from school, and he almost goes bang, falls over on his head. But he looks around crossly, expecting it to be George or Colin, but in this case, it wasn't. And then she said, "Oh, sorry, you were in my way." And then she asked Peter, "How's the Secret Seven Society going?" And then Peter said, "You just look where you going, Susie." And he picked up his bag, and then Peter says, "As for the Secret Seven, it's no business of yours. You're always trying to interfere." Here's Alec.
Yeah, so Peter is kind of the leader, really, of the Secret Seven. So he organises the meetings, sets the passwords, although they kind of do that collaboratively. There are 7 people. Actually, the only criticism I think I would have of this book is that there are too many, for such a short book, there are too many characters, right? In the Famous Five, you've got the 4 kids and the dog. In this one, there are 7 kids and a dog, and then mums and dads and siblings, and then there are the bad guys and good guys, and so it's like, it was actually quite a lot to follow. But yeah, Peter's the leader, and Susie's not in the 7. So Susie is the sister of one of the kids in the 7, and she's super nosy and super irritating. And so she's obviously deliberately bumped into Peter. She's being nosy. She's trying to find out what's going on. She's kind of needling away and irritating Peter. But the thing he does, the good thing about it is it does trigger Peter to then set up a meeting.
Okay, so apologies about the time. It is actually 20 to 10, not 10 o'clock here. So my apologies for that. We might have to edit that a little bit.
That's all right, Barry.
Yeah.
You just corrected it then.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, on with the story. Let's see what happens next. I will read that to you viewers now.
Do you want to skip forward, or are you happy to just keep going?
Keep going. Jack says there hasn't been any Secret Seven meeting for ages, said Susie, walking beside Peter, much to his annoyance. Susie was the most aggravating girl he knew. So, in this case, Susie is trying to annoy the heck out of Peter, and then makes him call a meeting. But I will tell you about that in a moment. Jack was Susie's brother and a member of the Secret Seven. Peter was quite sure he hadn't said anything about the meeting, but Susie was right. They hadn't had any meeting for a long time. The Easter term has been rather exciting so far, and Peter hadn't thought a great deal about his secret society. Well, we're having a secret seven meeting very soon, he said to Susie, making up his mind suddenly that they would, but you're not coming. And if you try any silly snooping, you'll be sorry. You don't belong to our society, and you never will. I know your last password, said Susie, skipping over the cracks in the paving stones. Ah, you don't, said Peter, racking his brains to remember what it was. Goodness, it wouldn't do for him to forget it. I do. It's Jack Sprat, said Peter, said Susie, and Peter scowled at her. She was right. Jack Sprat was the last password they had chosen, a secret password, and here was Susie shouting it out in the road. She saw his angry face and laughed. I'm right, aren't I? Yours is a silly society. I know your password, and so do all the girls in my class. I told them. So the next time you have a meeting, we'll be along. Shout out the password, and you'll have to let us in. Who told you the password? Demanded Peter. I know Jack wouldn't. Oh no, Jack's the most annoying brother. He never told me anything, said Susie. But when I went to borrow a hanky from his drawer, I found a piece of paper there hidden under a pile of hankies. And on it was scribbled, remember the password, Jack Sprat. You're always snooping about Susie, said Peter angrily. I never knew such a girl. Why can't you leave us alone and not keep trying to find out our passwords and what we're doing? So what has happened here? Susie, Jack's annoying sister, interfered with the Secret Seven, and she knows the password. Here's Alec now.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, she claims to have been looking for a hanky.
Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Are you in the midst of something?
Do you really want to pause?
Sorry, this is your name, sorry. Sammy.
Welcome back, everyone. So, as we were saying, Susie, Jack's annoying sister, interfered with the Secret Seven, so unfortunately, she's the most aggravating sister in the world. So, have you ever had someone aggravate you? Let us know down below. Here's my offsider. Yeah,
That's right. So she's kind of an annoying little sister, and she sort of pesters Peter and wants to be in the Secret Seven, actually, and it's kind of annoyed that they won't let her in because there are some sisters and brothers that are in the Secret Seven. But I think she's too nosy and too annoying for them. And also, they've already got their 7 and they don't want to make it Secret 8. They're happy with Secret 7.
Okay, so on we go with the rest of chapter 1.
Okay, so where were you up to, right?
Well, why don't you let me belong? commanded Susie. You let Janet belong and Pam and Barbara. Don't be silly. It's a secret 7. We can't have any more members or we'd be 8, said Peter. Anyway, we don't want you, Susie. You're mean, said Susie. Well, I'll tell Jack you're having another meeting soon. When shall I say it is? Don't you go telling Jack anything, said Peter, really aspirated with this annoying sister of Jack's. I send out notices of meetings, not you, and you needn't bother to remember the password. I shall choose another one immediately and let the members know. Oh well, Jack is sure to write it down to remember it again, said Susie, skipping off, and I shall be sure to find it. Goodbye, and give my love to Jack Sprat. So what's happened is Peter has got really aspirated with Susie because she wants to tell Jack of the next meeting. Here's my outsider.
Yeah, he's getting pretty frustrated with her, isn't he? And she's kind of, sort of shoving it in his face and saying, well, I know the password and I can tell Jack when the next meeting is. And he's like, no, leave me alone. Yeah, so she's super annoying. He's totally exasperated with her.
So,
I'll keep reading.
Susie glad pleaded back. What an annoying girl she was. Or should I say, Peter glad of Susie's back. What an awful girl. He was glad that his own sister Janet wasn't like Susie. He walked home with a solemn face. Certainly a meeting must be called soon. There hadn't been one for ages. It would never do to let the Secret 7 come in and just because there weren't any meetings or anything special happening. But you can't solve mysteries and things unless there are some to solve, thought Peter. We'll have to think of something else to do and then until one comes along. Sometimes it seems as though nothing happens for ages and ages. I'll have to change the password too. Fancy Jack being such an idiot to write down the password in case he forgot it. He might have known that Susie would find it. He went home thinking hard. Janet, his sister, was already there, and Scamper the golden spaniel came rushing out, barking with joy. Hello, Scamper. Being a good dog today, said Peter, fondling the long silky ears. Eaten all your dinner? Been sniffing for rabbits? Barked at the dustman? You have. Ah, you're a very good dog then. Woof, said Scamper, and raced round the room like a mad dog. Janet laughed. He knew you were coming long before you came in at the door, she said. He sat with his head to one side and listened for about 3 minutes before you came in. You must have known when you turned the corner up the lane. Janet, said Peter, putting down his satchel of books. We've got to call a secret 7 meeting as soon as possible. Oh, good, but why? Has anything happened? Said Janet, thrilled. She was disappointed when Peter shook his head. No, except that I met that awful sister of Jack's, Susie, and she found out the password and was sharing at us because we hadn't had a meeting for ages. So we simply must have one, and we must choose a new password too. Get out your note paper and we'll arrange a meeting as soon as we can. And that was chapter 1, Susie is most annoying. Coming up, we find out what happens. So you've been listening to chapter 1, and this segment has been brought to you by Chemist Stone. I'm Barry Fear. The time is nearly 10 o'clock. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of June. Thanks for tuning in with us today. Welcome back. You're watching episode 216 today with Alec and Barry in Georgia. And before I read chapter 6 to you, A Shock from Poor George, Peter orders Colin and George to do a spot of shadowing. Now, when the time for George and Colin comes to do the shadowing, Colin sneezes 3 times, and his mother won't let him go out after tea. And Colin says, "Oh, but mother, I must do it. It's Secret 7 work, I've got to do it." And then Colin's mother said, "Can't it be done another night? Surely it isn't absolutely necessary to do it tonight." Here's Georgia.
Sorry, I haven't read this book.
That's alright, my bad.
That's alright.
Here's Alec now.
Yeah, so that's right. So Peter's ordered everybody to do some practice. Colin and George are going to go out and do some shadowing. And Colin can't go because he sneezes 3 times, and absolutely, you almost word for word quoted what his mum says and what he says to his mum about he has to do it because it's Secret 7 work. But he can't go out. And so George ends up going out on his own. He follows somebody but doesn't look behind him.
And then, this was, you will find out later in this chapter what happens. So, on we go with chapter 6. Yeah. Chapter 6 from Go Ahead Secret 7. A shock for poor George. But George didn't look behind him. He only looked in front and followed the man steadily once when he stopped to tie up his shoelace. George darted to a nearby gate, afraid that the man might turn and see him. He crept out after half a minute and saw the man walking on again, swinging his bag. After him went George, deciding to go to get a little nearer so he could see exactly where the man lived. When he went into his house. So he crept quite near, feeling bold and successful. And then suddenly something happened. George heard sudden footsteps behind him, and then a heavy hand fell on his shoulder, and then a sharp voice spoke loudly. "And what do you think you are doing, creeping along in the dark after that gentleman in front? What's this you've got on your wrist? A truncheon. Don't tell me you meant to use it, you wicked little scoundrel." So what's happened here is this man has caught hold of George's shoulder and spoken sharply to him. Here's my outsider.
Yeah, so George was doing a good job of following someone, shadowing someone. He's gone out at night, he's wearing dark clothes, he's like masked his face, and he's
blacked
his face, and he's carrying a truncheon, which is kind of a weapon, really. And then a perfect stranger has come up and grabbed him and said, "What are you doing, you little scoundrel?"
Okay, so George was so astounded that he couldn't say a word. He stared up at the man who dragged him to a nearby lamppost. "What have you done to your face?" said the man. He was a young fellow, strong and determined looking, and he gave George a sudden shake. "Have you lost your tongue?" He dabbed at George's face and whistled. "You plucked it. What for? Are you one of those wretched little hooligans who think they can hit innocent people, rob them away and run away?" demanded the young man, and shook George roughly again. George found his tongue. "Let me go," he said ingrantly. "Of course I'm not a hooligan. I'm only shadowing somebody, well, just for practice." "I don't believe a word of it," said the man. "I followed you right from the bus, you little wretch. I watched you hiding here and there, creeping around the corners, following the old fellow with the bag. Come along with me. I'll take you to the police station. You can tell your tale there." George was really frightened now. He tried to wriggle away, but the man held him too tightly. "Please don't take me to the police station," begged George. "My mother would be so upset. Take me home. I'll tell you my name and address and come with you. You'll see I'm a good boy, not a hooligan. I wouldn't dream of following anyone to rob them." "All right, I'll take you to your home," said the young man grimly. "And I'll have a word with your father, young man. What you want is a good talking to." And poor George had to trot beside him all the way home, held so tightly by his collar that he could hardly breathe. He didn't have at all a pleasant time at home. The young man had made his harmless adventure seem very, very serious. His mother was shocked. His father was angry. So what's happened here, readers and viewers, is George has been accused of following someone. Here's my outsider.
Yeah, that's right. So he's doing a pretty good job of following somebody and shadowing them just for practice, but then is grabbed by this young man who is not at all happy with him, wants to take him to the police station, but is persuaded not to and takes him home to have a conversation with his parents.
So, leading on, readers. So, his mother was shocked and his father was angry. So, let's find out what his parents decide to do with him. Well, I didn't mean any harm, said poor George, rather sulking now. It was only the orders I had from Peter, who is the head of the Secret Seven, our society. We were just practicing several things in case some mystery or other turned up, that's all. I had to shadow someone, and I did, but there wasn't any harm in it. I see, said his father. Well, that's the end of the secret society for you, George. If I'm going to have you hauled home by a member of the public accusing you of following some harmless old fellow and carrying a truncheon and with your face blacked, well, all I can say is that the secret society is leading you into bad ways. I agree, said his mother. He mustn't belong anymore. George looked at his parents in the utmost dismay. But Dad, Mother, you don't understand. I couldn't possibly not belong to the Secret Seven. They wouldn't let me go. I must belong. So what's happened? He's arguing with his parents. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. So it sounds like the stranger has made it sound worse than it is, although it does sound pretty bad. Like he's out, he's wearing dark clothes, he's got blackface on, and he's got a truncheon. It does sound sort of scary, and then the stranger has made a big deal out of it. And so George's parents get really unhappy with him, and they're banning him from the Secret Seven.
So his father tells him that's enough. So on we go. That's enough, George, said his father curtly. You know I won't be argued with. Go and wash that black off your face and tell the secret society of yours tomorrow that you no longer belong. Do you hear me? Yes, Dad, said George, shocked and miserable. He said goodnight in a low voice, gave the young man a fearful scowl, and went out of the room. He debated whether to slam the door or not, but decided not to. His father did not look kindly on any show of temper. Poor George. He washed his black face, undressed, and got into bed. What a dreadful thing not to belong to the Secret Seven anymore. What would they do without him? They would only be 6. Would they call themselves the Secret 6? That would still be SS. Or a dreadful thought. Would they get someone else instead of him? George felt as if he really could not bear that. He buried his face in his pillow and gritted his teeth. It was too bad. He had only done what Peter had told him and he had done it very well too. And that horrid young man thought he was up to mischief and hauled him home. Tomorrow he must go and tell Peter and Janet. They would have to call a meeting on Monday night and decide what to do without him. He would be there for the last time. He would never attend one of these exciting secret meetings after that. I shall howl if I go on thinking like this, said George fiercely, and kissed his pillow hard, pretending it was the young man who had caught him. Take that and that. He felt better then, but it was a long time before he fell asleep. Poor George. And that was chapter 6. A shock for poor George. And that, my viewers, is the end of the book review for this week. Here's Alex.
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting point in the book where George has just been banned from the Secret 7. He's really upset about it, and we're wondering what's going to happen. So are they going to replace him? Are they going to just go on with the 6? And how has everybody else gone with their tasks that Peter asked them to do? And of course, it transpires that the young man who has taken George home is not actually as innocent as he is sort of suggesting that he is, and he is involved in a mystery. And that's what happens next in the book.
So, we hope that you've enjoyed chapter 6. But what I can tell you in chapter 7, I won't read it to you. George goes around the next day to see Peter, which was Sunday, and tells him what has happened. And Peter got a nasty shock. Here's Alex.
Yeah, so Peter gets a nasty shock, and in fact they all do. So they have a meeting, and George resigns, and they have to decide what they're going to do, and they actually decide to replace him, but not with another kid. They end up replacing him with somebody else who we've already seen in the book.
And it is Scampers.
That's right. So they replaced him with the dog, which actually George is pretty okay with. He's like, okay, well, if I'm going to be replaced, Scampers already comes to our meetings anyway. He's a helpful dog. That's an okay replacement. But the other thing is that the others then report back on their research, don't they? They're all, so the others have done different things. They've observed people, and they've tried to memorize things, and they're kind of all starting to circle around this weird thing that's happening in their town with dogs.
So we hope that you've enjoyed the book review on episode 216 today. The time is coming up to 17 minutes past 10. I'm Barry Fair with Alex Taylor in Georgia. Now, here's the next subject. Well, last Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, I went on an exciting adventure on the ferry to Circular Quay. I left my home at 9:30 on Wednesday and caught the ferry over from Commonwealth Wharf to Circular Quay, and I can tell you I had a lovely time out there. Beautiful weather. I did my story on the Harbour Bridge. I have uploaded that episode, so if you'd like to have a look at that, please feel free to do so. And wow, and the Harbour Bridge, guys, it's what a picture perfect outing to go and do an episode on. And that was the episode last week. So upon arrival at Circular Quay, I went to find a disabled room, but the problem was it was locked. How annoying. And the sign said, please see staff for assistance. And would you believe it, the room was like a small box of matches, like, let's just say, a box of redhead matches. Strange but true, but very annoying. So if you've had to go to places and you find that the disabled rooms have been locked, I'd like to hear from you about it. Now, you may recall last year I said, please be prepared for an outing. I'm sure Georgia would agree on this.
Yes.
So, if you're going on an outing, guys, please do prepare yourself. Here's my outsider.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be prepared for an outing. Sorry, Barry, I didn't quite know what you were saying last time. I thought you meant the viewers to be ready for you to post an outing video. But yeah, it's definitely important to be prepared. Go to the bathroom first, as you said, because sometimes, unfortunately, the disability and accessible bathrooms are a bit hard to get to, or they'll be locked. So yeah, always be prepared, have your sunscreen, everything you need for lunch so you can have a good day out.
And make sure you've got money with you too.
Yes.
Here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got to be prepared to, buy tickets if you're going on public transport or to a show or something. You've got to be able to be ready to buy some food maybe if you're going to have lunch out or a meal. And yeah, so you've got to be prepared when you're heading out on an outing.
So it's no good saying to your one-on-one person or your carer, I have not got money, because they will not be impressed. Here's my outsider.
Yeah, it's always good to have money so that you're covered, and having money kind of expands what you're able to do, and you can experience more things if you're able to pay for those experiences. So yeah, it's always good to have money on you so that you don't need to find some money when you get to the centre and then it delays the whole trip.
And always be on time for your one-on-one person too. Don't leave it until it's time to go to the men's room, because you may have to catch a ferry at 10:30. Here's my outsider.
Yep, it's important that you're on time and following into being prepared. Go to the bathroom before they arrive or just as they arrive, so that you can get there on time, especially with public transport. It's normally pretty planned out so that you get the right ferry in your case, and that gets you there right on time to get to whatever activity you're going to do for the day. So make sure you're prepared.
And if you are sick the day before your outing, email the person. Here's my off-sider.
Yeah, it's always important to give people that are organising their schedules around you some notice if any plans change or you're not feeling well enough to fulfill those plans. So yeah, it's important to keep everyone in the loop.
Like I did last night with Alex. I told him that the weather might not be good for Narrabeen. Okay, so just a couple of rules. If you are out and about, like we've said this on many of the episodes, if you do take your rubbish in, don't just go put it in the bin, pick it up and go into the bin. And here's Georgia now.
Yeah, it's important when you're on an outing, regardless of where it is, to find a bin to put your rubbish in. And if you can't find one, take it back with you, and you'll always be able to find a bin when you get back to where you came from.
And don't just go.
Yes.
And another thing, don't carry lots of money around with you either. Only take what you need for how much money you need. Say like $20 for your fish and chips or whatever. Don't carry hundreds of dollars because someone will go, here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, if you carry a lot of cash around, you're taking a bit of a risk, and not just because someone could steal it from you, but you could lose it as well. You could drop your wallet or leave it behind, and then you would just lose all of that money. So, good to carry a little bit of cash, but not a whole lot of cash.
So, and with your credit card too, don't allow anyone to watch you at the ATMs or know your PIN number. Here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right. And this one's been around for a while, actually. There are people out there who deliberately try to see your PIN number and try to catch your credit card at an ATM. So make sure when you're going to an ATM to take cash out that you make sure that you cover it so you know no one else behind you can see your PIN number. That's a good rule.
Because you may recall last year, a mate of mine got robbed in an ATM.
I didn't know that. What happened?
Well, he was taking money out of the ATM. A group of guys came up to him and went,
Wow,
Scary.
that's no good.
so please, if you take your money out, please put it away in your wallet securely. Don't leave the money out or someone will just go, and that's it. Here's Georgia.
Yes, important to carry maybe a bit of extra money, a little bit more than you need, just in case of an emergency, but not too much that it makes you a target. Especially don't wave it around when you're opening your wallet to pay for something. And yeah, as it's been said, cover your PIN, and yeah.
Because I was robbed at Sydney Markets once.
Were you?
Wow.
I went to pay for a bucket of chips and the security guard eventually caught up with the thief and I got my wallet back.
Oh, well, that's good. So happy ending.
So be careful out in the community, guys. Here's my offsider.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's I hadn't heard that one either, Barry. That someone had stolen your wallet at the markets. Great to hear that the security guard was there and on it and able to track them down and give it back to you. But it must have been a bit of a shock anyway. It must have been a pretty unpleasant experience.
It was.
Yeah.
So please be careful out in the community, guys. Well, our closing sequence is the one we opened the show with this morning. The COVID cases, unfortunately, they have ramped up again. So please, if you have been to a hotspot or flown to a hotspot, please isolate yourself for 2 weeks, 14 days. That's 2 weeks, okay? Please wear a mask on public transport, whether you're on the bus or ferry or at the shopping centre. Here's Alec now for his closing sequence.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Yeah, as you say, the COVID cluster is a bit of a worry in Sydney, and you need to make sure that you obey all of the rules around COVID, like wearing a mask on public transport and getting tested and going into isolation, so that hopefully we can get on top of it and it doesn't spread further in our community.
So please, I know it's a pain in the beep, but I've started this program with COVID, but please guys, we're only saying this because we care about you people out there. We don't want you spreading the virus around like a smear of strawberry jam and having the doors slammed shut on us yet again like we did at Christmas. So on that note, guys, it is time to draw episode 216 to a close. And thank you for being with us this morning on the show. Here's Alec now for his closing and farewell. And before we do go, apologies for not bringing Bellarong Reserve to you today. We will get around to it. Sorry we didn't get around to that today. Here's Alec.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show, Barry. It was a good one. Interesting to talk about COVID and the book review. It was a good one. Thanks for that. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to Bellarong soon.
And the message we always close the show with, 000, only call that number in an emergency. Please don't be an idiot with that number and call that number when you don't really need to. Here's Shawna now for her final word on this.
Yes, thank you, Barry. Good episode. As we always say, triple O is just for emergencies, especially during this time. With this new strain, apparently the symptoms may be a little bit worse, so you want to save that number for people who are struggling in any emergency, as well as having respiratory problems with COVID that are so severe they need to go to hospital. So yes, reserve 000 for emergencies.
Don't just ring them up and say that you're lonely or bored, or don't go, oh, here's Alec now.
I know what that one is. Don't cry wolf, right? So don't pretend to be sick and don't do it for attention. Just only call them if it really is an emergency.
We thank you for tuning in to episode 216 today. Thanks for your company here on Tuesday morning. And please, if you be careful if you have to travel, okay? I may sound like Molly Meldrum here, but guys, if you know the borders are shut, please don't go. And on that note, time for us to draw episode 216 to a close. Episode 217 coming up tomorrow, but until then, I'm Barry Fair and Alec and Georgia. Thanks for your company today, and we will see you next Tuesday morning at 9:30, hopefully with a better day than this. Have a good morning, everybody, and if you need to talk to someone, Lifeline 131114. Have a great day, everybody. See you later. Have a great day. Thank you for watching this episode 216. Have a great day. Have a good morning. And good morning to everyone now. Good morning, everyone.